Welcome back into another edition of PTN Extra. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Evan Camico alongside Mike Irwin. Mike, we've been talking about it all summer. The dog days are over. School is back in session. Kids are on campus. And that means one thing. Football is finally here on the hill this weekend. Arkansas opens up against Alabama A&M for the Razorbacks. It's going to look a little bit different this year, even though you got a lot of the staff coming back and all that. The biggest thing we heard today from Sam Pittman in his radio call earlier today was that Bobby Petrino will not be coaching on the field like he did last year. He will now be up in the press box. Mike Irwin, your thoughts?
I think it's one of the most interesting developments so far, and it's interesting that he waited until now to tell us about this. Now, look, here's my take on it. Let's go back to last year, because Petrino typically, if you remember when he was at A&M, he was in the booth. Mm-hmm. So why was he on the field last year? I promise you he understood that Taylon Green was talented, but he wasn't anything close to what Petrino wants as a quarterback, so he wanted to be down there. So every time he came off the field, there was a face-to-face conversation between those two. And at any point, he could turn and talk to him. And that was confirmed all year long with the video we saw. They were always talking to each other, face to face. I think the fact that he's up in the booth, back where he normally prefers to be, that tells me he's a lot more confident that Taylon Green knows what to do. He can still talk to him, but he doesn't have to look him in the eye. He doesn't have to explain over and over again A, B, C, D, because he thinks he knows A, B, C, D. So I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and definitely, and I know as somebody on the camera side of it, of being able to shoot all the games versus being in a press box. Why did I say press box office? It's one of those Wednesdays, people. Stick with us here. We're having some fun on PTN Extra. But when you're in the press box, you can see the entire field. It's a much higher up view. You get the whole 22, and you're able to read the defense, see what they're doing, versus when I'm shooting on the field, it's hard for even me in the media to really understand what's going on, because you don't get great depth perception when you're sitting in an end zone. Again, it's different being in an end zone than on the sideline. But sometimes I can't tell the difference between a 3-yard run and a 7-yard run, or a 2-yard loss versus a 12-yard gain. Obviously, the big plays you're able to tell, and I'm able to go, oh, that was a really big play. Highlight that, move that, save that in the back of the mind for later. But it's a different perspective that you get on the field. What could that benefit for Bobby Petrino, having done this for such a long time, and really for Taylon Green? Where do you see that benefiting that potential relationship where Bobby can now be eyes up high rather than on the field?
Well, I mean, last year, and even though he was willing to do it, because I think what I've already explained was the number one priority. Mm-hmm. The problem is, if you're Petrino and you're down on the field, you got to have somebody else up there, and you got to be relaying back and forth. What's going on here? What did you see there? And that's a lot more complicated than being able to see it yourself immediately and then call the play, because you don't have to ask a bunch of questions about it. So I think it benefits Arkansas. I think it benefits Taylon Green. I think it definitely benefits Petrino to not have to go through that extra process of asking somebody else a bunch of questions about what they see that maybe you don't see down on the field.
Because Sam Pittman last year, we know he spent time up in the press box, albeit that was when he was hurt at the end of the year in that Missouri game with all of the hip problems. So we've seen Arkansas coaches be up in the press box, and really interesting. Mario Cristobal, I don't know if you knew this, but the head coach at Miami, he'll be in the press box full time. I found that really intriguing. He's really the first one to do it full time. So who knows how that's going to impact it? Just a little fun nugget to throw out there when we're talking about coaches being up top versus on the field. And I'm curious for the Arkansas offense as we head into this Alabama A&M game. Obviously, we think this could be a big benefit for them, but what do you have to see, Mike? What do fans at home have to see to be confident? Because Alabama A&M isn't going to be the quality that Arkansas is going to face literally 2 weeks from now.
Well, I want to see how the offensive linemen block, because this is a team that supposedly blitzes a lot. So how do you handle blitz pressure? Maybe it's not the same as an SEC team blitz, but they're still going to do it. So how do you handle it? What's your running game like? Everybody's talking about Taylon Green throwing the ball, but I want to know what their running game looks like and their run blocking, because that's been really, to me, there have been two stories in this camp. One of them is Taylon Green apparently going through his progressions more than he did before. He's not targeting 1, 2, or 3 guys. He's thrown to at least 6 consistently, depending on who's in there. So that's been one story, but the other story has been this running game and Mike Washington and how he's faster and more physical than they thought he was.
Yeah.
This is always a cool thing, because you bring somebody in and You think, oh, well, okay, this is what we know he can do. And then he ends up being better than you thought he was.
And we kind of said the same thing with Jaquin Jackson last year, right? Where he was getting brought in, there was injury concerns. Same thing with Mike Washington, injury concerns of only playing, 4 games at New Mexico State last year. So it'll be fun to see because when Jaquin was healthy, and we saw that last year, I mean, double-digit touchdowns. That Missouri game at the end of the year where he rushed for 2 or 3 in that one, that was crazy. And again, he didn't the numbers wouldn't blow you away when you're just thinking about Jaquin Jackson. Unfortunately, Jaquin did just get let go by the Jacksonville Jaguars, but it's what he was able to do. So if Mike Washington can replicate half of that, right? Like maybe even a 3/4 of that. I think Arkansas's running game is going to be set up for success because of the additions and because of the changes they made on the offensive line.
Well, and again, if he gets hurt, you've still got 2 other running backs that were here last year that understand the offense. This is their 2nd year in this offense, and I believe they will both be better. There's some people out there trying to imply that this somehow that the fact that Washington came in and beat those 2 guys out has less to do with him and more to do with them. And I don't see that the case at all because I think Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino, Pittman is a straight shooter. Petrino is a totally straight shooter. I'm telling you. He will tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
He's never been a guy that covers anything up. And if there were a problem with those other 2 running backs, I guarantee you he would have said it. He would have mentioned it. He would have said, look, I appreciate what Mike Washington has done, but I don't like the way they didn't push him enough. He didn't say any of that stuff. Neither one of them did.
I'm curious, is there what is the difference between a straight shooter and a straight shooter? Like how far off are we, joking aside?
I think Petrino even goes beyond what we see with Pittman.
Yeah.
I've never known him to hold back on a problem that he sees. He just, even back when he was here and a lot of people felt like he wasn't very good with the media and blah, 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 I'm telling you, one of the first things I noticed about him as a head coach was when he had a press conference, I'm not going to name coaches, but there were coaches, you went to a press conference and you walked out of there and you go, what do I have? It was just a lot of talk. Yeah. I don't have any solid stuff to report. When you walked out of a Petrino press conference, you had all these notes and you're going, well, wow, I got this, and he said that, and I got this, and you were trying to figure out what was the biggest thing he said. And this is, he would have said if they have a problem with these other 2 running backs. And I don't believe they do. So even if Mike Washington were to get hurt, I think you're so deep at that. This team is deep. Yeah. There's only one position where they're not deep. And that's pretty unusual. And it's an older team. I just like this team I could be totally wrong. And we're going to find out right off the bat what's going to happen with these guys. But I really like the way, what I've heard about this team and what little we've seen about them. And look, we've seen video of some individual shots of plays in scrimmages. It's not like they just told us that Mike Washington ran 91 yards. We actually have seen that. Yeah. So
should be very interesting. But we are going to talk about the area where Arkansas isn't deep, the defensive line, and we'll have more on Alabama A&M. That's coming up after when we take a quick break here on PTN Extra. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this from our sponsors. Welcome back into PTN Extra. Evan Camico, Mike Irwin here, having some fun. It is week 1. There is so much to talk about. Before we went to the break, we told you guys we're going to talk a little defensive line and talk about Alabama A&M. Let's talk Alabama A&M really quickly. It's a new regime, new coach. First year, they were 6-6 last year. They faced an SEC team, did the Bulldogs and Auburn, and they ended up losing pretty bad. 73-3 was the final score. Mike, it's a new year, right? You throw all that stuff out. They've got a lot of new players. What stands out about the Bulldogs to you?
Well, a new coaching staff that went 10-3 at Miles College, wherever that is. And their head coach has said, well, actually, Sam Pittman said this, so I take his word for it. He said, look, offensively, they do a run-pass option game, which exactly what this defense needs. Because here's what you're going to do with that. Your quarterback's going to take the ball. He can take it and turn and immediately hand off to a fullback or a running back. He can leave the ball in his stomach or he can pull it out. If he leaves it in, you got to have a D-line that can stop that guy right at the line of scrimmage. He pulls it out, he starts down the line of scrimmage. Now your defensive ends and your cornerbacks come into play because you might go around the edge or he might pitch to a trailing back. Or he might pull up suddenly if he senses that the corners have come up too much and the safeties have bit on it a little too much. He pulls up and they've got a couple of receivers that can go and he'll throw over the top. Yeah. This puts maximum pressure on your defense Now, I don't know how well they'll do this. I was watching a little bit of their practice video, and Pittman talked about their quarterback having a pretty good arm. It looked like to me he was just kind of, so I could be surprised. It didn't look like he had a whole lot of zip, but that's what you want to see. You want to see how well the safeties, the cornerbacks, can they keep themselves from getting surprised and get thrown over the top on them? Can you come up and stop those runs on the corner? Can you stop the option play? Can your D-line stop them at the line of scrimmage? These are things that, to me, you need to be tested in that. Now, I don't know that they will be, but the team they're playing is going to try to test them.
And I think the defensive line, right, that's been the talk. A lot of it is the front seven. You know the linebackers are good. You know, relatively speaking, your safeties and cornerbacks all have experience, whether that's here at Arkansas or around the country in various locations. But the D-line right now, that was probably the thinnest. You can say it is the thinnest position group right now. David Oki goes out. He might be out for a couple of weeks. And now you got to turn to potentially Keyshawn Blackstock, who was listed as your number 2 option on the depth chart a couple of days ago. What do you want to see from the guy next to Cam Ball? Because you know Cam Ball is going to be in the middle. He's probably going to play 70 to 80% of the entire game because he'll have to come out. They'll have to do some rotations. Again, you want this to be like the UAPB game last year where you can get your 3s and 4s in, but for this Arkansas defensive line to get going early, what do you got to see from them? What needs to be the big adjustment?
Well, I think this could actually be a good thing because now you're going to be forced to play probably a couple of freshmen. They've got a couple of freshmen down linemen that they think are very good. They just have no experience. If you were playing Notre Dame, if you were going on the road and playing Ole Miss, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. But I'm obviously not coaching this team, but I wouldn't be reluctant at all to put those guys in there to see what they can do against this team. You're getting them valuable experience. I don't think they'll start out playing much, but I would say certainly by the end of the first half, into the second half, I'd play him a lot, and I would play Blackstock and see what he can do there. They may leave him there.
Yeah, and again, then you get David Oki back potentially in a couple weeks, and if Blackstock transitions well, which all of his teammates have been saying online, you can go check that out right now on our PTN YouTube and website, that he's transitioned well there, and it's been really fun to watch him kind of go from the offensive line, because the offensive line, like we've discussed, is so deep, where now you can afford to pick pieces out of there, where in previous years you couldn't, because offensive line was one of the weaknesses of this team.
Yeah, so and honestly, you probably have 2 weeks to develop those guys a little bit, because then you're going to go to Little Rock and play Arkansas State. So, I'm not saying Arkansas State's not a quality opponent, but it's not like you're going to go play an SEC team. So I think to me, it's good to have a couple of games right off the bat where you can play these guys more and see what you've got with them.
Yeah, it's the experiment games of, hey, who can fit where? Maybe, we tried X player at Hog. Let's see if they can play some corner and be more traditional. So it's really fun. It's a testing period, like you've kind of already mentioned, for this Razorback team. Mike, let's do some bold takes. You had a great bold take last week that everybody at home absolutely loved, saying that Arkansas is going to beat Notre Dame here. Well, yeah, they got mad about it, but that's what we do. We got to stir up the fan base.
They love to attack me. These are the Sam Pittman haters, including saying that come on, it's an 11 o'clock game. You're talking about the atmosphere. Okay, I'm going to say this again. If you don't think that the atmosphere for the Notre Dame game, now provided Arkansas hasn't already lost 3 games by then,
right?
But if you don't think, if Arkansas is in good shape going into that game, if you don't think that because it's 11 o'clock, there's not going to be a good atmosphere, that you don't know the fans around here, because they're going to be there. I've already talked to a guy that has tickets for that. You know what he's going to do? They're spending the night out there. They're going to go out there and tailgate, spend the night tailgating, and get up the next day. They'll be there.
Yeah.
It won't be a matter of, I'm showing up late and trying to get into the stadium. This will be a big deal. Notre Dame's never played in Fayetteville.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, I remember there were games where for Indiana basketball, I would be camping out outside and then have to go into the stadium the next morning. The earliest I remember is we got there at 3 in the morning once. But then again, and that was for a program who at the time was probably in even worse shape than Arkansas football is right now. But let's talk about this Alabama A&M game. We're here to do that bold take. We're not doing anything else. What's your big prediction for this weekend?
I think it'll probably be a little tougher in the first half than it was last year in this type game. I think the opponent is better. And I think they're better just because they brought in a new coaching staff with a lot. They brought some of those Miles College players with them, and that creates a little bit of doubt on the part of the Arkansas coaching staff trying to scout them. So might not be 49-0 at halftime or whatever, but I still think Arkansas will win this game comfortably. Bold take, I'm going to say Mike Washington rushes for 200 yards in this game.
I don't think that's as bold as last week, but that is a pretty good bold take, Mike Irwin. But that's going to do it right now for our football talk here. Stick around when PTN Extra returns. We're also going to talk some football, but this time Colby Hale's team as they face the number 3 Duke Blue Devils. That's tomorrow night. We'll talk about that when PTN Extra returns after this. Welcome back into PTN Extra. Evan Kamiko, Mike Irwin with you. We're wrapping shop here on this Wednesday. Mike, we'll talk about this Arkansas soccer team really quickly. They got a great challenge tomorrow night. Another ranked opponent, the third one who's going to be here, I should say, in Fayetteville. You've got number 3 Duke. They last week were the number 1 overall team in the country according to United Soccer Coaches rankings. This week they are 3. We had a chance to catch up with Colby Hale and Ella Riley earlier today. Here's what they had to say about the matchup coming tomorrow.
Coach, 3 games in, just talked to Ella, said that there's plenty of places the team can work on. Where do you think kind of has been the biggest strides the team has made in the first 3 games, and where do you think there's area for growth?
I think it's just experience, right? I mean, you have a bunch of new players. You have some players that played in the past. They have different and bigger roles. And it's just settling into that, right? Every team takes a little bit of time to figure things out. It was a good week of training, and we're looking forward to hosting a good Duke team.
Let's talk about Duke. They're, receiving votes for number 1. I know you guys don't care about where you're ranked, where other teams are ranked. What do you hope for this team that they can be ready to face a good Duke team? What's kind of the scouting report for the Blue Devils?
I mean, I think they're the best team, and I think they're pretty complete. They've only played 2 games, but they played 2 really good teams, and they were very good in those. So we know it'll be a big challenge, and we like challenges. I think John told me we play 7 of the top 13 teams or something silly, but that's how we like it, right? Because sometimes I get a little more nervous for the team that maybe our team would overlook than the big team. I mean, Thursday night it'll be a great game. It's a fantastic team. It'll just be a fun environment, fun game. We're looking forward to it.
I want to dive into the environment. You've had a lot of fans already show out, and again, now another marquee matchup here at Razorback Field. What do you hope that they bring that'll help your team get some juice?
I mean, most people say it's the hardest place to play in America. I was actually joking. This is credit to Kieran Hall, the coach at Duke. He's the first person in 13 years that ever called me and asked me to play. I got a phone call and he said, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I was like, "Wait, are you winding me up?" And he said, "No, dude, I want to come play. I heard your place is tough to play. We want to test our team." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it, dude." And we'll go back to them. A ton of respect for him and their program for that. And we know how big of a challenge it'll be for us. It's going to be a big one.
As you guys kind of get to that game, what do you hope that I'm assuming you hope that players step up who maybe have not. I know you guys have dealt with some injuries. What's kind of the goal for Duke tomorrow for a successful full game? Obviously, a win is the biggest success that you guys can have, but is there something small that you can take as we kind of build up and get towards kind of the conference play?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to look like us. I think we've developed one of the most interesting and unique brands in all of college soccer, and I think people have an expectation of what it's going to be, that we're going to work, that we're going to do some of the tough stuff, that we're going to work hard, we're going to play in transition, and we got to do those things. We got to have, we got to have a player or 2 step up, and they have every game, right? And it's been a different player every game. So we're looking forward to it. I mean, if I could play anyone, it would probably be this team. They're the best at home. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Last question I have for you, and then I'll let you get out of here, Coach, is, again, we talk about tomorrow and kind of the season as a whole when you're looking at the building blocks, right? Where you're going from one game to another, trying to build up towards conference play. For this team right now, what are the biggest areas that they need to take that jump in so that you guys can be ready for conference play in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we made progress this week. We got to be better with the ball. We got to be better without the ball. We got to be better in transition. We got to be better in sets, right? So those are kind of the 4 main areas. And at times we've looked great on each of those individually. We got to start putting some stuff together where it's like the press is turning into chances, the chances are turning into goals, and we're executing on sets a little better.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Stay there. You gonna have you look at me the whole time?
Yeah.
Very easy.
Yep.
Pretend this is not here.
Okay.
And I'll hold this. So first of all, Ella, 3 games in. How do you feel about the team? Where do you guys feel like you are? Where do you feel like there are some areas to improve?
I definitely say we're not exactly where we want to be, but we've got time to improve, and that's exactly what we want to do. We don't want to waste these opportunities that we have against these ranked matchups, and so we're going to go in and try to win each game.
What do you think is the biggest lesson the team has learned? You've played Iowa here. You've also played Notre Dame, 2 top 10 teams. What have you learned from that you could apply for this upcoming game against Duke?
I think it's just time for people to learn, to step up. We've had a couple people go down with injuries and whatnot, so I think it's important that we learn from our mistakes. Obviously, there's things that we need to clean up, so as long as we are learning and growing, I think we'll have success in the future.
How difficult is it? It feels like, like you've kind of mentioned, people have been down with it. That's Cora right now. I know Bella was down a couple of weeks ago and just came back for that game against Georgia Southern. How difficult is that, trying to kind of figure out what the team is, the strength of the team, while dealing with all these injuries?
It's definitely difficult, and we have to be there for our teammates, but at the same time, we have games to win, and so it's just time and another opportunity for people to step up.
Duke tomorrow night, team that's receiving votes as #1 team in the country. I know you guys don't really care about any of the rankings or anything, but how exciting is it to get another big marquee match here at Razorback Field?
I mean, it's super exciting. The energy is electric here, and every time we have any opportunity, whether ranked or not, we want to bring our best. So tomorrow's A game. Let's go.
What do you hope to show out for the fans that show up tomorrow?
A big win.
A couple more, then I will let you get out of here. Obviously, you guys are now back in the top 10. I know, again, it's kind of the same thing. You don't care about the rankings. Is it nice to kind of see that you guys still have a ceiling that people believe that you can hit, and that you're nowhere near, like we've kind of been talking about?
I mean, everything we get, we earn. So whether we ranked or not, that's what we earned. Like you said, we're not too caught up in it, but what we get is what we earn. So top 10 or not, that's who we are.
Last question I got for you, then I'll let you go. Where, tomorrow night, to be successful, to have a successful match against Duke, what needs to be the result? What would you like to see? Maybe if it is a draw, what would be steps forward for this team?
Success is always winning. I think a shutout would be nice. Our defense can definitely step up in those aspects, and just getting the goals that we should get.
Awesome. Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Again, big thank you to Colby Hale and Ella Riley taking some time to talk with me. Mike, it's an exciting night. It should be really a great lead up when it comes to all of Arkansas sports. You've got this marquee soccer match here in Fayetteville tomorrow. Then, of course, football over the weekend. Volleyball also going to be playing a little bit this weekend too. I believe they open their season as well. How awesome is this just to have all these sports back, and especially a marquee matchup at Razorback Field?
Well, it is. It's important because you win this. Even if it's a tie, but if you win this could have significance toward the end of the year and how you're seated in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, SEC play is important, but they've got an opportunity early on to kind of make a name for themselves. And look, this soccer program has been totally turned around. They've got it going.
Yeah.
There's complaints, you have never really won the SEC, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You didn't win the SEC tournament at the end of the thing or whatever they didn't do. But I'm telling you, they've got one of the better soccer programs in the country. And a guy I was talking to about it said, you know what? I can remember when nobody was in the stands. He said, I drove by there the other night when they were playing, or it was in the afternoon. He said, that place was full. It was packed.
Yeah, and only a matter of time until they put even more seats into that stadium at Razorback Field. That's going to do it, though, this week on PTN Extra. For Mike Irwin, our production crew in the back making this possible, I'm Evan Camigo saying thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you back here on PTN Extra next Wednesday.